Getting it all situated, ready to kick it into gear. Welcome back to another episode of Martial Arts Movie Mondays. You may be wondering, why am I in a tank top and I'm not in the normal top for Martial Arts Movie Monday? It'll all make sense shortly. If you've never seen the show before, basically what we do is we take a deep dive into one of my martial arts movies that are back here in my lovely collection. And sometimes they're old, sometimes they're new. We talk about the movie. We talk about the impact in martial arts, whether it be in the film thing or in my own personal journey, because a lot of these movies had some kind of an impact on me or some kind of a part of my training itself, whether I learned to kick or just the influences or whatever it is. So anyway, so we're going to move on with that. So today I picked a very special movie. It's probably say this a lot. I love this movie. It is one of my favorites. This one was one of those that, okay, so that, there's movies, not just martial arts movies, but there's movies that come along that you see, whether it's at the theater or on TV or something like that. And then at the time, it might not have been, especially when I was younger, we didn't have the internet like we have today. We didn't have social media. We didn't have, like, you either saw it at the theater or you found out when it came out on video or something like that. So you didn't always have a lot of the abilities to find out about different things. You found out word of mouth. You see the trailer on TV. You go to the theater and you see the movie, or like I said, or come on video. So the movies like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, The Last Dragon, Emmett Otter's Joe Bang Christmas, things like this that I remember seeing, or I talked to somebody else about it and nobody knew what I was talking about. This movie was one of those. I don't know how well it did at the theater, but I saw it in the theater. Me and a friend of mine, we fell in love with it. We became obsessed with it. But then as I was telling people, nobody knew what I was talking about. And then it wasn't until it came on video, I got to introduce it to people. And then I couldn't find it for a long time again. But it is one of the few, if not, I know there's one other movie that I don't remember the name of it, but it's one of the few, if not the only really big budget or big release, whatever you want to call it, not budget, but big wide release film, martial arts film, to my knowledge, that focuses on capoeira. And it is the one and only the Strong, starring Mark Dacascos. Oh my God, I cannot tell you how much I love this movie. The reason I chose this movie today, outside of the fact that I just love this movie and we were going to get to it eventually, was because I may be getting to interview Mr. Dacascos tomorrow for a new movie he's got going on. I'm waiting to hear the follow-up. So we may be talking about that movie next week. So maybe a 2 week in a row talking about Mark Dacascos. But this movie, we've talked about how much I love Mark Dacascos on this show before. He's got a bigger resurgence from John Wick 3 recently. He did a non-martial arts thing as the I forgot what they call him on Iron Chef. He's like the crap. I forgot what they call him on that show. Anyway, where he's basically kind of not the host, but he's kind of the guy that's the gatekeeper of everything of Iron Chef. But we did an episode on American Samurai, which was the very first introducing Mark Dacascos. We did our episode on Angel Town, that was Mark Dacascos' first appearance in a film as kind of an extra fighting thug type thing. So by the time I saw this movie, I still didn't really know who Mark Dacascos was. I discovered him in those other things a little bit later, or discovered who he was and then realized, oh my God, that was him, that kind of thing. If you don't know who Mark Dacascos is, then you got a problem. But he's Zero, the bald guy in John Wick 3 recently. He played the Crow in the TV series. He's done a ton of movies. I love all of them, or I love everything he does. So anyway, but Only the Strong was one of the different kinds. It came out as a different type of martial art. At the time, I'd never heard of capoeira. It was 1993, I believe. So it was a year after I graduated. And me and a friend of mine saw this movie in the theater. And I remember coming out of it, and we were just blown away. I was already in Taekwondo. I was already a black belt at the time, because I got my black belt at Taekwondo at like 16, 17. And I graduated high school in 92. So that means I was already a black belt at that point. And I was kind of dabbling in other things, and but still very stuck mindset in Taekwondo. I didn't want to train in anything else. This movie opened my eyes to, as silly as it is, to the idea of doing other things. Like, I watched kung fu movies and all this stuff, but for whatever reason, it didn't resonate prior to this movie that, hey, that'd be cool to expand because we don't do that kind of thing. Or here's the exact same techniques we do in a different way. And so me being exposed to capoeira at this time made me see them throw an outside crescent kick or a roundhouse or something like that, a turning back kick or a spinning outside crescent kick, but in a different way, but being the same thing. And immediately I was like, oh my God, I can learn variations. And my mind exploded from the point from the 93 until today. Because of this movie, my mind exploded to the point to where I'm constantly obsessed to learn something new, whether it be a new kick, a new punch, a new way of executing it, a better way of doing it to change the way I do already. It varies. It's not always about just the improvement. Sometimes it's variations. Sometimes it's like, oh, the way I was doing this doesn't work as well. This is a better idea. Or sometimes it's as I've gotten older and involved, thinking, hey, it's better if I do it this way than if I did it the other way. This works better for me now because I'm older, or I may not be as flexible, or I may be slower from an injury. I can now do it this way, and it works a lot better. So there's a lot of things that it helped me out. And obviously, the reason I'm wearing a tank top, I don't have like a wife beater type tank top to wear. So I'm wearing my He-Man. At the bottom it says, "Sup, ladies." I'm not going to stand up to you, too. But because in this movie, Mark Dacascos, from probably 90% of the movie is either in a tank top or he's shirtless. And so is this other bad guy what is the bad guy's name? The bad guy always cracked me up in this. Silvio or whatever his name is. Paco Christian Prieto, I guess it's how you say it. Silverio was the gangster's name. And it always made me laugh in these movies. And they still make them to this day, but when they make these movies, whatever the focus martial art is, everybody that faces off happens to know it. So in this case, the premise of the movie is Mark Dacascos' character gets out of he's like a special forces guy. Gets out of the military, comes back home. So he goes back to his high school in Miami to visit a teacher who was kind of the reason that he was able to get out of trouble and get his life together. Got into the military, so kind of went back to visit him. And now the school is overrun with violence and drugs and gangs. Very cliched story that we've seen 100,000s of times. And so he gets in a fight with some drug dealers. The people resonate to it, so they start this program of him taking some of the worst kids in the school to try to teach them capoeira to help bring unity and get them to respect each other and bond with each other and respect themselves. And, basically the stuff that martial arts actually does in a real good traditional martial arts class. It's more than just the fighting. It's about respect and honor and discipline and all those things. And so that happens. But of course, hijinks ensue because there's one of the kids is the nephew or cousin of the main gang member drug dealer in the neighborhood that everybody's afraid of. Another one is a different brother to the other ones. So there's like the Jamaican gang and the Mexican gang, I guess it is, or Dominican or whatever they are, drug cartels. And so it's causing friction with them. And so he's trying to meet with these kids. Excuse me, he's fighting with the people in the school that don't believe in him. He's now fighting with the gang members. And they're like, no, don't be tainting my children with your stupid propaganda of martial arts and love and peace and whatever. So then, of course, it turns into him having to fight for the kids, fighting for himself, fighting for their honor, and then it's a life and death thing, and then it's, it gets escalated into way out of thing. We've seen the same story a billion times. This one is just done with capoeira. And ironically enough, both the people in the movie happen to know capoeira in the movie, so when they have face-offs, they all have the same music, whatever. And to explain how into this movie I was, not only did we come home and start trying to learn some of the terminology, which I don't know now. I've never got to fully commit to training in capoeira because there's not a lot of it in Texas. Used to, my friend Mike, who ironically looks a little bit like Mark Dacascos. I met years ago in jiu-jitsu together. Started working for him, became friends, whatever. We both got our black belts in small circle jiu-jitsu together. But he's from Florida. He lives in Florida. And he used to teach me capoeira when he was living here. He would teach me some little movements here and there, learning the jinga, the shikada, the benson, and some of the different movements on the ground. And so I had started getting more than just the straightforward kicking and punching stuff. I started to get to experience, learn a little more of the real capoeira outside of just what I learned from the movie, and then research online. And then while visiting him in Florida, I got to go to a capoeira school he trained at the time. Got to practice with them under a capoeira maestre. It's really, I really love capoeira and wish, like, even if they had a school now, I teach 16 times a week. I don't really have time to fit any other styles in outside of what I already teach. So I don't get to really do for me anymore. And it's stuff like this. It reminds me, hey, just get out there and do your jinga and do your tricadas and your benzons and do some of the movements and the shifts and the twists and the transitions that you learned. I also got to work out with a guy named Craig, who's become a friend over the years as well, who is a awesome capoeira guy. And a lot of people know him from the movie Never Back Down. There's a video that went around for a while. And I'll tell the story again later when we talk about Never Back Down franchise. But there's a video that went around of it was always so funny because when I met Craig and I found out that was him, and it looks like a real fight. There's a whole bunch of people around him. It doesn't look like it's a film stage fight initially because people were shooting it on their phone, which was part of the film scene. And this guy is showboating and he's flipping, he's twisting, and then he does like this one-hand handstand, and he does a bunch of kicks and craziness. He's got these dreads, and then all of a sudden, the other guy who's played by Cam Gigant or whatever his name, I never can say. I like the guy, I just can't ever say his last name, from Twilight and a bunch of other stuff. They do a homage to Indiana Jones, where the guy with the sword is flipping all the way, and Indiana Jones just pulls his gun out and shoot him. In this case, he does all these things. It's all impressive, and then Craig lunges at the guy, and the guy punches him one time, and it's over. And it made the rounds of this Marine karate guy gets knocked out by a Marine, showboater gets beaten in a fight, blah, blah, blah. It got passed as a real fight, and it was from the movie Never Back Down. So we've been giving Craig crap for that for years. But anyway, I had some time to work with Craig a little bit, not much, but like at some events we did, some different shows that they were working on that I was with them. Craig used to help me with the jinga a little bit and some of the movements and explain some things to me. He also used to give me a lot of philosophical discussions about health and life and things that really were impactful and at the time helped me better myself. And as I've fallen off the wagon on certain things, not like drugs and alcohol, but like just whether it's weight or whether it's training hard enough or whether it's, just getting lazy, whatever the case, I always can think about stuff he said and Mike said and my instructor said or other people that have influenced me, enables me to get back to where I need to be at to keep it going. So there's a lot of stuff that spawned from Only the Strong that I didn't meet these guys because of Only the Strong, but Only the Strong introduced me to capoeira, introduced me to Mark Dacascos. It introduced me to opening my mind to other styles that can be beneficial to what I do. And in turn, had I not seen this movie, I probably wouldn't have taken jiu-jitsu. Had I not taken jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't have met Mike. If I wouldn't have met Mike, I wouldn't have got to start learning some real capoeira and train at some classes. Had I not met Mike and started working for Mike, I would have never met Craig, who wouldn't give me some of the philosophies to help me better the person that I am as an adult. And it's a long thing. It's like one thing. And what's funny is me and Mike have had numerous long conversations about what we think Only the Strong 2 should be, because I've been waiting since 1993 for Only the Strong 2. I've seen Mark Dacascos post some stuff a couple times while he's doing some capoeira training and saying, hey, preparing for Only the Strong 2. I don't know if it'll ever happen, so you best be sure that if I do get to interview him tomorrow, I'm going to ask him where it's at, because we need an Only the Strong 2. We need some more focus. Capoeira does not get enough love on film. You get to see different people show up in movies doing capoeira, but not enough of them. There's a guy named, oh goodness, totally forgot his name. Hold on, let me pull it up because I know a movie he's in, because I want to give him props too, because he's one of the guys that I've seen him in. I think it's this one. I've seen him in. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. And I knew his name until I needed it. Okay, let me scroll down here. I want to tell you this guy's name. You need to look him up. It's very important. Lateef Crowder. Lateef Crowder. Lateef Crowder, who is also a Capoeira guy, and he's shown up a lot of stuff like The Protector with Tony Jaa. I think it's Falcon Rising, or it might be Blood and Bone. No, it's Falcon Rising, I believe, with Michael Jai White. But he's been in a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think he was in the Combat Mini web series it was on. But he's an awesome capoeira. I never can say it right. Anyway, he's really awesome. So if you want to see more in some other movies, but again, he's always a secondary character or another fighter. He hasn't gotten this, which is what they need. I think capoeira deserves. It's so dynamic and beautiful to watch, but it has a history behind what it does. People that don't know, I've read some books about capoeira and things like this. It's so interesting because it's not like other martial arts. It feels like a dance. It's done to music, and I remember myself thinking, okay, it's cool and all, and the music's cool. So much so that when we got out of this, we bought the soundtrack because it has this song that they do in it, and I'm probably saying the words all wrong, but it's like Pananawe, Pananawe, para, and they're all fighting and kicking, and they mix it with hip hop, and they make a new thing. And there's zoom, 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 and there's the whole song ever. I had the soundtrack, and we would play it, and we would do some of the capoeira stuff that we learned from this movie with each other, and then stuff. We didn't have YouTube to go online and look up videos and training and stuff. We had to just figure it out. And so eventually I bought some stuff through Century, some training videos and books and things like this. So up until from 93 all the way up to, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, that was my only avenue to capoeira. And thankfully I met Mike and I met Craig, and they opened up my eyes and let me see the real world of capoeira and learning about, and made me research more and made me learn more about what the capoeira is all about. And the idea of the dance isn't because it's trying to be showboating. It's because the Brazilian people weren't allowed to learn to fight, so they had to disguise it as a dance so they wouldn't get in trouble. Meanwhile, they're training to fight up and to rise up against the soldiers in the Civil Wars or whatever. A lot of their jumps and stuff were meant to probably like kick people off horses and fight, things like that. And it makes sense outside of still being dynamic and amazing to watch. So Only Strong, it's a little cheesy at times. There's the cliche stuff. All the kids that are the tough kids aren't really that tough acting. You see them and you're kind of like, really? These are the toughest ones in the school? But it's also 1993, so you got to let that go. But it has some good fights. A little, I guess, behind the scenes news. Frank Dukes, who a lot of you might recognize the name, but that's who the movie Bloodsport is based off of, supposedly, is his fight. That Jean-Claude Van Damme plays Frank Dukes, who wrote that movie as well. He, I believe, was a stunt coordinator on this movie. He plays this welder character in a fight scene, so his face is covered, so you don't see his face. But he's in this movie. I always heard that director Sheldon Lettich wasn't happy with the fights in this movie, that they weren't dynamic enough from what Frank Dukes put together. But whatever it is, I still love this movie. It is over the top. It is ridiculous. It's silly, but it's a great one, and I really, really, really hope we get an Only Strong 2 someday. If you've never checked it out and you like martial arts flicks, check it out. It's very 90s. It's very cliched, but it's got some good fights. It's got some fun. It's got some laughs. But this one, Mark Dacascos got it. I love it. You'll love it too. And if you don't, keep it to yourself. Nobody else needs to know. Only Strong, one of my favorites. It actually probably, of all the movies that I've watched, a lot of martial arts talk about Bruce Lee and this, and don't get me wrong, that stuff had a major impact. I had these different movies that I was introduced to with stuff with Don the Dragon Wilson and Cynthia Rothrock and some Van Damme and Steven Seagal. And those guys influenced me more because it's who I kind of found as I was getting older. Brandon Lee in his short time. I love Chuck Norris. I love Bruce Lee. I love those movies, but I watched those movies in a different vision at that time that I watched some of these other ones, because I started martial arts when I was 9. By the time I got my black belt at 16 or 17, I was just starting to wake up. I was just starting to watch fight scenes differently. I was just starting to understand how things change and merge, and how they're the same and how they work together, and all the different elements that make these different martial arts and styles and stuff be unique and make them something else. And Only the Strong was one of those first ones that just slapped me in the face because it was different. And it's had an impact ever since. Every time I watch it, I get excited again to start doing the Jenga. And probably tonight at my class, Taekwondo class, they're going to probably be doing some capoeira stuff, because we just got out of a belt test, so we can do some different things. So for fun, we may do some Jengaing and some capoeiraing and all kinds of stuff tonight. So I don't know, all because we talked about Only Strong. So I doubt I'll ever see this, but thank you, Mark Dacascos, for giving me the world of capoeira in film, and thanks for being inspiration for this, because like I said, it sparked a whole new world for me. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Craig, for giving me the real lessons on how to do some capoeira. I'm far from even a beginner in capoeira. I just know a few movements here and there, but if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't even have that. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, tomorrow I'll be back for another episode of TV Tuesdays with me and the missus. We'll discuss new TV shows, old TV shows, and everything in between. And we'll be back for another episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live Sunday on this channel, as well as on our Facebook page. And then don't forget, we got numerous contests going up at our site right now at hollywoodmatrimony.com, where we're giving away copies, I think, at Killer Sofa, The Kitchen, Yellowstone Season 2. I forgot what else. We got a couple more contests fixing to pop up today. The limited series Catch 22, I think it was on Hulu or Amazon. We're giving away copies of that. We're giving away a copy of some fight movie called Bare Knuckle Brawler. And all kinds of other things happening. And then we'll circle back here for another episode of Martial Arts Movie Mondays. And if the Mark Dacascos stuff happens tomorrow, we'll probably be talking about that for next week, just to keep the Mark Dacascos train alive. So please don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube page. You can subscribe below here, or the little orb if it shows up over there, and watch whatever trailer or whatever pops over here. I thank everybody for watching, and don't forget, always, 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 the most important in life, keep your hands up, be respectful of each other. Peace out.